I am being watched during the day. I know that he's watching us. And he's not just walking amongst us at night.
And then he decided that he was going to stay in this bush area on a little hillside. And from there he started watching the people. And then he describes that he felt some sort of churning or animal coming up inside him, which just made him do this.
I had closure when I went back, but I could see they didn't, because there was still that fear.
Ik woon nou lekker. Ja, 5 jaar.
Ik denk hij lijkt nog precies hetzelfde. Hij heeft nog laatst
paard en alles.
Couranten. Hallo AB, hoe gaat het? 5 jaar later, hè?
AB kan niet geloven dat het boek wordt die jullie afleren.
Hoe is die kar? Hoeveel volgens jou was erbij meer worden, maar hij moest alles afgemaakt. We were called by AB from the Philippi area. Very concerned about farm workers being killed in the area, and the police are they're not even visiting the area.
Die was onze eerste moord. Want hij was hier bij ons in die paar keer doen voor Wendy. Die was er ja.
So dit is wanneer hulle besef het, maar dit kan dalk dieselfde mens. So dit was vir julle 'n moord wat op sy eie gestaan.
Ja, omdat sy het ook uitgegaan.
They phone, they even go to the police station and they never come out. And they thought maybe it was just because it's farm workers, they don't care. And he called the newspaper, and my news editor told me, listen, this sounds like a story.
This is Philippi, a picturesque farming community on the outskirts of Cape Town, South Africa. Farm workers have lived here for generations. It's these productive and wealthy farms which provide the city with most of its fruit and vegetables. This is also one of the city's poorest areas. Little infrastructure, no running water or electricity. It is also here where workers live and survive on a minimum wage. Escaping the harsh reality through alcohol is a pastime.
I was from Cape Town. I didn't know the area very well, and I just saw this absolute poverty. These people live, they've got a day-to-day job, they work for farmers. They live in this extreme poverty. You go into those houses, the flies, the smell of absolute poverty and struggling to survive.
Philippi is very well hidden from the rest of the city. So well hidden that when bodies of farm workers started appearing in the irrigation dams, nobody realized the horror about to unfold.
Some people of the farm come to my office. I was a small office where I do my community workout. They come here by me, they say, AB, we got a problem. I asked them, what is the problem? They say, AB, we think yes, somebody who murder our people.
We drove in. It's sandy road, and the houses are not very visible. You basically have to drive in and look for people to talk to, and obviously they were scared. We came in as, with cameras and whatever, and photographers, and they just saw reporters, and they saw AB, and that was the person that they trusted the most at that stage.
Bonnie Swartz lives and works on a flower farm with her husband. It was an innocent stroll to the shops one evening that nearly cost her her life.
As ek by die draai kom, toe sien ek die man spring uit die bos uit. Hy's besig om sy broek vas te maak. Toe sê ek vir hom, nee, ek ken nie vir jou nie. Wat sê jy? Sê nee, ek sê, hou jy al van lang van die hele distansie, hou ek al vir jou dop, dat jy daar onder al afkom, hou ek al vir jou dop. En die woman het my neerdruk tussen die gras, net so eentjie van die pad af. Sê vir my, nou gaan jy my gee wat ek nodig het. Ek sê van wat moet ek jou gee? Nou gaan ek saam met jou seks. En ek trek my broek, ek gooi my neer. En ek sit langs bene. En ek sit, het 'n klip in sy hand.
Bonnie tried to escape, but she was knocked unconscious with a rock. She vaguely remembers being dragged to a tree.
Ek was stikkend hierdie kant. Een kant was rauw, was stikkend. Liep my daar af. Wat ek daar kom, wat my daar kry, wat my daar by die bos begin vastmaak. Trek my kleren uit, ek trek my skoen uit, ek trek my sikloos uit, ek trek alles van my uit. Maak my vast by die boom. Hy het my eers 4 keer geryp. Ek is dood, net soos dood.
Left for dead, Bonnie lay motionless in the bushes. It was hours before someone found her. She awoke to the blinding light of a torch.
My kleintjie het gebel en gevra, baas my aan. Ek het 'n ander stem gehoor, wie praat die ander man die vir my aan, toe sit ek. Toe sit hy. Kom kry haar by die koellande lê. Sy is klaar dood.
Elsie Jarvis is still haunted by the night a stranger stalked her. She clearly remembers how, whilst walking home with her children and her boyfriend, someone was following.
En toe my boyfriend aankom, en toe haloop hy. En hy het seker so paar tree van hy self toe kom maar so misbank oor. En toe haloop my boyfriend in die misbank, toe sê hy moet terugkom, en ek weet dat hy skeer voorwerp die man het, hy kom terug. Dalk gaat die man nou seer maak, ek weet en ons ken mos nou nie die man, ons weet daar, want is 'n lang man nie.
When they arrived home, her mother was not there. Panic set in. A frantic search began.
Ek sê wel, jy? Julle weet, mama loop mos van hy sê weg is om 7 aan toe sy gaan. Wat alles vertel my, hulle gaat die saam soek, alles nou net bang, my boyfriend is ook bang. Ek sê nou gaat ek dan ook nie terug, ek gaat ook hier waar gaat soek alleen, en ek weet ek het 'n man gesien nie.
problem with that community was also when it comes to weekends, they drink. They end up not knowing what's happening around them, and that's also when he started targeting them. He knew exactly who would be sleeping at what time, how much they had to drink, and by when they would be completely out of it.
Mother's Day, and still no sign of Elsabe's mother.
My klonk en die twee vrienden het elkeen toe 'n tyger hulle rol toe op haar na omkant toe. Hy sê toe vir hulle, nee, moenie hier opkom nie, speel hy kant toe van, hier's klomp glase. En met die wat hulle moet nou afgaan met die huwelkie, by die dam se wal af. Toe sal hulle nou sien, hé, skree die ene vir die ander een. Jullie man in die dam.
They dragged the body out of the water. Elsabe's worst nightmare had come true. It was her mother, Mina Jarvis. She had been raped and strangled. Her naked body dumped in the irrigation dam, left to rot.
Ik heb baie staan gevoel en dis op Mother's Day. Kinders het sommer nie skerry begin raak. Mense wat gekom het dan kyk het begin te huil.
It was the third body to have been found in a space of just weeks. All of them women. Raped and beaten to death. The men were also not spared. Titus Jacobs was attacked with an iron pole while walking home from a neighboring farm.
Is jy al klaar daarvoor?
Is al klaar, is lekker uit.
The serenity and quietness that was once Philippi had been shattered. The farmland, now a hunting ground for a killer. A community paralyzed with fear.
They didn't know what was happening. You know, people are being slain around them. They don't know who's going to be next. And that, for me, was, you could actually see it when they started talking. You could see it in their eyes that we don't know who's going to be next, because he was at the neighbor's house last night.
They didn't have to wait too long.
My sister het allemaal weggehaald van huis. Allemaal. Mijn twee zusters het weggegaan. En mijn broer wat doorgebleven het weggegaan. Ik en mijn boyfriend het alleen achtergebleven. Van ons moet nou kijken of hij nou komt om ons door te komen maken. Ons moet nou zelf zien hoe ik man. En toen dat gebleven, ja, over 2 weken. Toen maak ik die andere 2 grote mensen, niet veel van mijn maat, maak ik 2 mannen haar dood.
The grisly murders continued into the winter months. By the end of July 2005, a total of 6 bodies had been recovered from several dams around Philippi. This time, bodies of men were also being discovered. They had been hacked to death with an axe.
He almost always chose a man and a woman who were together. And he'd kill the man, rape the woman, and then kill her as well. So it was not that he was looking for single females walk along somewhere or finding themselves alone at home. He would search out the couples.
There was never a pattern. Not everyone will be killed execution style. I think he just looked at the situation and did what he had to do with the intention to kill.
On some scenes where I myself come, me and my community workers, it was very bad. They was beaten dead with hammers. They was killed with big poles, axe.
There was murder. There was rape. 4 women's lives were spared. But they were left to live with the nightmare. Only the image of the man who raped them was left imprinted on their minds. Identified by the engraved charcoal wording on his forehead. The word Jesus.
He wanted us to know, but by doing that and being known as Jesus, that he's completely and utterly in control.
That people was very scared because why during the day they can't even do their work properly because of their minds. During the nights when I enter a farm, the people are happy because now they know at least for a few moments they can sleep now.
And then everything went quiet in the village of Philippi. The killings stopped. No more rapes. It seemed that the so-called Jesus killer had gone to ground. Life on the farms returned to normal. Two months of relative calm was shattered. This time, Mina Manuel would be his next victim. She and her husband Lucas were asleep when their door was kicked in. Lucas was dragged outside. Mina repeatedly raped. In pain and terrified, Mina waited for sunrise to find her husband. She found his body next to a dam. Their neighbor was lying alongside him. Both of them grotesquely mutilated with an axe.
We were at the funeral of 3 victims that were buried at the same time. And you could see exactly what, the mark of the axe on the forehead and the strangling marks around the neck.
But unlike the other murders, Mina Manuel disputed the claim that her attacker worked alone. In her statement to the police, she claimed 2 other men carried her husband out of the house and killed him.
Vat die 2 stuks wat in die kamerdeur staan, toe vat hulle 2 vir hom uit. En toe bly die Jesus by my. En hy sê, hy klim nou vir my op. En ek kan nie daar so bly nie, ek weet mos nie waar laat hy is. Hy kan mos vir my kom doodmaak aan die huis.
The body count continued to grow. By October, 8 people had been killed, another 6 women raped. Abe, a community leader in Philippi, kept a close watch on what was happening. He also kept track of the killings by mapping out the area on his wall, pinpointing where each body was discovered. Abe had 14 markers on his wall. Only 8 were being investigated. According to police, there was no evidence to link them to a serial killer.
To be honest, the police wasn't too much interested in solving that big problem on Philippi because the police wasn't able to tell our people that it's a serious killer that are busy to threaten our farm fields.
A string of grisly murders has sparked fears of a serial killer on the outskirts of Cape Town.
The hunting ground of a serial killer. These people think so, and they're terrified. In the past 6 months, mutilated bodies have been found in dams in the area.
The Jesus killer was making national news. Nicolene and Denver spent most of their days and nights on the farm. Every day a new headline. A shocking tale.
We stayed there till late, after deadline. I mean, you already filed your story and you just hang around there and sit with them outside and talk to them. It's almost as if we didn't want to leave because you don't know if this person's going to be here tomorrow.
The hunt is widening for a serial killer suspected of murdering 8 Cape Town farm workers.
The community claims 6 other people are missing, presumed murdered.
Police continue to deny this was the work of just one killer.
At the moment, we are investigating each murder on its own merits.
I think my second headline said serial killer, and we were fine with it. I mean, our news management was fine calling him that because for us it was a fact.
Have police also bungled their investigation into an alleged serial killer?
The police were being accused of dragging their feet, of a sloppy investigation. Vital evidence had been left behind at some of the crime scenes. Many victims were not interviewed, and police avoided all media attention.
When they took the body from the dam, I could see that there was no sense of wanting to work with the media. We were standing quite a few meters away, and they told us, don't take pictures. This is not a serial killing. This is not a serial killer operating in this area. Why do you guys write about serial killers? Why do you want to confuse and scare people? It's not a Jesus killer. We haven't seen anyone. It's just people coming in randomly and killing.
Or many times the police want to arrest me. They say, yes, I am the one who make the people nervous and things like that. But never ever I go to the people come to me. The people phone me during the night if they hear something or they suspect he's around, they phone me. Not the police, because why? The police was never ever available.
There's someone who has identified himself so that people know that I want to be known as the Jesus killer. I mean, are you just ignoring that? Are you just ignoring the fact that it's in your face?
Not only was he wreaking havoc in the neighborhood, the Jesus killer began toying with local police. He began taunting them with letters. He left maps describing where his next victim could be found. And there were also messages for those to come.
In one of the later rapes and murder that he committed, the one complainant asked him to just please, if he were to kill her, to tell a friend where her body is so that they could give her a decent burial. He went looking for a friend. He waited and went back to the body several times to see if the police discovered the body. After 2 or 3 days, when they had not yet discovered the body, he wrote a letter with a little plan attached to it, a sketch plan of where her body was, which he then left on the stoep of a friend's house.
Warning people actually heightens their fear because there's something to worry about. It also heightens the fear of other people because it shows that people are being chosen and stalked. It creates the presence, your presence in other people's minds on a regular basis.
He also phoned the police on several instances, telling them of another body or of that body lying there. They have to go look there. Never identifying himself, of course.
Nobody was protecting the community of Philippi. There was nothing they could do but band together and take care of their own. determined to catch the killer themselves. They patrolled the farms. Families gathered at each other's homes to keep safe. Outside, they left fires burning. Nicoline joined the patrol.
They went out and looked for this guy through the sand, and for me it was like, I hope they don't find him tonight, because he installed that fear into me as a reporter as well. He used to stand on these dunes at night where they could just see the silhouette. And he knew the dunes so well. He would stand on this dune and they would go towards it and he's gone.
A breakthrough at last in the hunt for a suspected serial killer in Cape Town.
As media pressure mounts, police begin the long-awaited search. An arrest is made. A 49-year-old man taken into custody. Stanley Martins had previous brushes with the law. Police find him walking alone in the bush, and they need closure. The murder is solved. Or is it?
We are happy that we've got our suspect, and we are convinced that we've got the right person.
A picture of Martins is shown to survivors, but no one agrees. This cannot be the right man. At Martin's first court appearance, it emerged police failed to link him to any of the crimes. Martins was released, his image forever tainted. He has been branded the Jesus killer.
All charges against him have been dropped.
By just working with this thing for so long, it was as you create this little picture in your head. And I looked at this guy and I looked at my husband and said, how could they think it's him? I mean, he's a frail little guy that wouldn't be able to overpower any of those guys we saw on the farm.
It's been 9 months. The farming community of Philippi has been gripped by a nightmare. 14 people have been murdered, 22 women raped. No one is safe.
I can't believe that these vulnerable people have to be subject to this. I mean, there's no way they can protect themselves. There's no high fences, electrified things that can protect them, not even burglar bars against the windows, and they're just so exposed. You immediately feel very sorry for them because of the fact that they're so exposed and so scared and so afraid and vulnerable.
Finally, the break police are looking for. At one of the crime scenes, a cell phone is left behind. Whilst scrolling through the numbers, police find one which leads them to Grabo. Not far from Philippi. The telephone number belongs to a boy known as Daryl. What they don't know is that this is the killer's son.
En nog altyd my kinders se kontak op daardie foon op daardie simkaart na my oudste seun se foon toe. En dis hoe die polisie hom vasgetrek het.
Police track down and arrest 41-year-old Jimmy Maketta, a local painter who was living in the bushes around Philippi. Maketta was out on parole at the time for attempted murder. He denied everything.
It seems that they had a prima facie case against him. They were still busy investigating and putting all the clues together, looking for witnesses to come to the fore and say, but he is the person.
Police could only link him to 2 of the crimes, assault and housebreaking. They battled to prove to the court that Jimmy Maketta was in fact the Philippi Jesus killer.
I just thought he was going to have the face of someone I could say, yes, no, you could definitely see this man has been killing quite a few people. But he was this normal guy that could have been working with the farmers.
The community, however, had no doubts.
There must be justice today, not tomorrow.
He killed our farm people. He raped our farm people.
John Frislaw was appointed by the state to represent Jimmy Maketta.
I didn't know that it was such a high-profile matter itself. My first appearance in court, I approached the building itself and I saw people standing outside with placards and saying, "No bail to the Jesus killer." And when I went inside, the courtroom was packed.
A tough case to crack with very little evidence. Everything changed.
The evidence against the accused was that he had written a letter to Captain Morris, who was the investigating officer at that stage, describing each and every incident.
The reasons why he wrote the letter and actually why he addressed it to Captain Morris, because Captain Morris gave him the paper and said he must write the letter. And Mr. Maketta wanted to write.
State prosecutor Susan Galloway and investigating officer Jonathan Morris were assigned to the case. The two were tasked with connecting the dots between the letter Maketta had written and the actual case dockets.
In the letter that he wrote to Captain Morris, he also attached a very detailed sketch plan of the area where the last incidences occurred. He indicated where his little house was, where the houses of some of his victims were, where the dam was, wherein he threw some of his victims, the roads that they took.
The letter revealed a chilling and deeply troubled man.
I usually sat on this hill where I always sat. At the bottom of this hill was a house, and the people that lived there drank a lot. I saw a beautiful woman walking towards the house. She was very drunk. The woman went into the house and left soon afterwards. I watched her as she walked through the vegetable patches. I decided to follow her. She didn't know that I was following her. When I got the chance, I grabbed her by her throat and pulled her into the bushes.
He explained how he had problems with his wife. I couldn't see her, I couldn't see his children.
When I dragged her deeper into the bushes, I told her that I wanted to kill her. She asked me why. I told her that sometimes I become like a lion or a tiger. I just want to tear and kill what comes in front of me. She thought I was joking.
The accused said that he had the sense of a demon inside him, that he was like a lion, and that he felt like a lion and the people were like a sheep.
Jimmy Maketta spent most of his life here in Grabo. One of 15 children, Maketta's childhood is typical of a troubled youngster.
There was a pattern of significant cruelty to animals, including bestiality. He ran away from school on multiple occasions, ran away from home. He was often involved in fights. There was a series of behaviors which from very early on could show that this child was different from others.
Ik was baie lief met Jimmy. Ik heb omgegeven voor hem. Zoals ik weet, ik was baie lief met Jimmy.
Janetta married Jimmy Maketta in the mid-80s. They have 3 children.
Hij baie vir ek en die kinders uitgevat op by 7 my net. Was die kinders, ek gaan met my kinders uitvat, dan gaan hy met hulle uit. Dit is skrikkelik lief vir sy kinders, heerlik. Die lewe het meer gegaan oor sy kinders.
Janetta remembers a time when it seemed he was the only one.
Ons was baie lief vir uitgaan, ons was baie lief om saam te gaan inkopies doen, saam rugby gekyk, baie dinge. Het my eintlik baie bederf tot ek met hom getroud is. Hy sien ons die ware kleur van my. As op donderdag wat ons getroud by die hof, op die hof van Mrs. Flink. Hy sê dat donderdag altijd Jimmy Maketta met my beklei. My bloed het pieken nog voor 2 jaar had en die zit ze hier gaan zitten. Ik had het zelf uit alles. School had maar daar wel gebleven. Hij heeft me bij je aangerand. Dus ik gezegd, bij je geslaan. 2, 3 wordt hij mijn kop geslaan al. Eerste wordt hij me gesteekt in mijn kop. Tweede wordt hij me geslaan met dat boomstomppaal ding. En dat hij die knie van mij breek geslaan.
When Jimmy Maketta started having an affair, it was the last straw. Janetta left him and banned him from coming to the house. She divorced him and forbade him from ever seeing his children again.
Is het omdat je droom is nou weggegooid? En hij was die droom.
Hij was mijn droomman. Die man wat ik een dag mijn leven wil, maar een dag het niet.
Toen ik hem ontmoette, hij was een baie stil persoon geweest. En hij het gewerkt samen met zijn pa op die plaats.
Anna Arendse was also married to Jimmy Maketta. She took him in after he left Janetta. They were childhood friends. Her story is similar. Happy beginnings, but the beatings were never far behind.
En hij heeft mij vreselijk aangerand. Mijn kop was vol sloten. Mijn gezicht, die bloedspatten zo aan die deuren gezet toen zij mij geslaan had. En die maandagochtend, die dinsdagochtend. En toen de andere vrienden van mijn malen gebeld. Mijn malen moet kijken of ik nog leef.
Anna believes that he was capable of murder and rape.
Toen hij mij weer aangerand had, hij aan. Denk ik kan hij dat doen het. Dan ik had aan die haakjes eruit vastgezet, hij heeft mij afgerukt van hij eruit had. Mijn kleren had hij af, het vastgezet en niet. Hij aan dat hij aangegaan, zoals de bezeerd en hij heeft geschreeuwd ook zoals een maagvark, ik weet ook niet wat. Ik geloof hij heeft dat gedaan.
He lacked the ability to perceive the emotions in others that were appropriate, and he didn't really care. And that is the central tenet of what made Mr. Maketta different from other people.
The charges against Jimmy Maketta were mounting. Another 50 charges were put to Maketta. And then a final blow to Maketta's defense team.
And I also informed Mr. Maketta that he must stop with writing letters to Captain Morris itself. However, that didn't happen. I discovered again Captain Morris received another letter, and they placed it on record again.
This letter contained details of another 3 murders that took place in his hometown of Grabo in the late 1990s, nearly 5 years prior to the Philippi killing spree. According to police, these cases had gone cold.
One Sunday afternoon, I was wandering in the bushes. I came across a woman with a baby. As I did in my previous encounters with women, I grabbed her and pulled her into the bushes. The baby was lying in the path, screaming. When we were deep in the bushes, I took off her panties, raped her, and strangled her to death. The people that walk in that path found the baby, but they never found the mother because I had dragged the mother deep into the bushes. On this murder and rape case, the police never found the culprit.
And that fit with the whole crime. People saw the complainant leaving with her baby from a house, walking in the direction of that bush. The next morning when it was found that she didn't arrive home, they went looking for her and they found the baby in the footpath and her in the bushes, strangled and raped. So there is no way that somebody else could not have known that set of facts.
Dr. Larissa Pineri-Peter, a specialist psychiatrist, works with people who have various antisocial disorders. She studied the Maketta files.
Described always as a loner, as somebody who was set aside from others, very charming, meticulous, perfectly groomed, no evidence of any tattoos or any disturbance to the way in which, he looked.
Pineri-Peter believes that Maketta's character can be described as psychopathic.
Would you say that he had no real concern for the victims or their suffering? I think at one point he just shrugged his shoulders when asked how he felt about it. Very, very matter of fact. I think he said it was like a game.
I had instances where I spoke with him and his demeanor is that of a very soft-spoken, docile type of man, somebody whom if you passed him in the street you would think he couldn't hurt a fly.
Now the state's case was solid. The letters sealed his fate. DNA evidence links Maketta to most of the crimes. Eyewitnesses positively ID'd him.
I would say Mr. Maketta was shocked when, after he wrote the letters, that he then discovered that the letters are really going to count against him.
Maketta pleaded guilty to 46 charges, 18 of rape, 16 murders, 6 house breakings, 2 robberies, 2 attempted murders, and 2 assaults.
But the letters that Jimmy Maketta wrote was the nail in the coffin, basically.
Under South African law, Jimmy Maketta proved to be a dangerous criminal, and if given the chance, he would commit the same crimes again.
He has to serve 25 years. There's no parole, there's no amnesty, nothing.
He got no remorse for the family that died. He killed. I don't believe a word he said. I don't believe a word. And he still got a smile on his face.
My kinders was baie geskok. Baie geskok tot die oudste ene ook terug. Vra vir my mamma hoe kon mamma met so 'n man te goed sê Jimmy was nie so nie.
The reasons why he left, first and foremost, Grabo, the difficulties with his wife, and also the fact that he couldn't see his children. That to him was the last straw.
Susan Galloway has worked on many of Cape Town's high-profile cases. She believes that in the end, serial killers always want to be caught.
In Maketta's case, he started leaving notes. He phoned the police. And he knew by doing that, he exposed himself to possible arrest.
At the end of the day, justice must prevail. And that is also what Mr. Maketta wanted, that justice must prevail. Because he wanted to atone for the sins, as he put it.
It's difficult to fully know because he also evades being caught. So maybe at some small level, there's an enjoyment with the cat and mouse game.
Maketta loved the media attention.
He wanted to know what they said about him in the newspapers. And it created the impression that he was a bit impressed.
I think he enjoyed the media coverage. We did not contribute to what he did. Maybe we could have contributed to how we did it.
Certain serial killers may enjoy the publicity. Then unfortunately the media actually plays into that.
I said sometimes the whole night. You know how it happened. The time when we hung Jesus, we never sleep. All the people.
Back in Philippi, Abe Fransman still wonders what would have happened had the police reacted on time.
If the police was more interesting in the things that happened to our poor people on the farms, then there wasn't so much murders. Because why? The farm people is just like throwaway people.
And despite sightings of 2 more accomplices, there were never any arrests. Today, they may be walking free. Mother's Day now means a visit to the graveyard for Elsabe and her sister.
Wat gaan boord van ons als zij zulke dingen gaan doen het aan mijn oor.
And in a final chilling blow, Maketta wrote one last letter. It was addressed to his ex-wife, Janetta, blaming her for everything that he did.
Netta, the time when you left me, I was in and out of prison. That is when the sickness was taking over me like a lion or a tiger. It grew inside me. From the time when you left me, I started hating men and women. Tell my children that I say I am not dead. I am alive. And they will one day see me again. I'm just going to rest for a bit. And then one day, when everything is better, I will be with them again.
And just before he was arrested in December, Maketta paid Janetta one last visit.
Wat wou hy doen?
Hy wou mos vir my kon doodmaak. Ek sou die laaste een gewees het op sy program.